Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Dunleavy, the editor of CDN Computer Dealer News with our Newsmaker series. Here with us is Ross Allen, who joined the list last year. Welcome.
Thanks.
So, Ross, to call 2010 an interesting year for McAfee would be a gross understatement. I don't think anyone could have predicted Intel acquiring you last year for around $8 billion. But the question for you, Ross Allen, is why?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, the acquisition's not done, so I should probably start there.
Sure.
I think the interesting thing about it, I think it's a natural extension of what Intel's trying to do. They have what they call their P kind of strategy, which is power and performance. They're going to add a third kind of pillar to that, which is going to be protection. So I guess the initial announcement was made. Everybody kind of looked at that a little sideways.
Very surprising for sure.
The good news about that is I think we can help them on the protection side of that power and performance. And the second side that's kind of good for the McAfee is that they're going to operate as a wholly owned subsidiary. So you won't see any changes in terms of the company, the logo, the product, the strategy. All that's going to stay the same.
Do you think Intel is going to put you over the top in the marketplace? Let's talk about Symantec here for a bit. You've been nipping at their heels for a very long time now. Do you think with Intel on board, you can finally displace Symantec in the marketplace?
Well, I'd say in Canada we're doing more than just nipping at their heels.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
So we had a lot of success in that in Q4 and throughout 2010. I think what the Intel thing will bring us is an opportunity to integrate some of the security into the stack. Some of the threats that we're seeing are probing, getting lower underneath the operating system. So I think with Intel, we'll be below the Windows boot profile as the attacks become more sophisticated, like we see on the attack on a hypervisor versus on the Microsoft layer. It's going to be important to play in that. The second element I think that Intel is going to give us there is how to get closer to the chip to drive performance. So the easiest one around that is encryption. Early indications on the product that's going to be released around encryption is it'll be kind of 50 to 75 times faster than it would be if it was booting after the initial IPL, right?
IPL, yeah.
So I think that's kind of good. And then of course the next kind of component we'd look at there is to say, boy, if we could then potentially go out and do a scan into the cloud to say what's the latest in the signatures in the cloud and download them even before that boot happens again, we're ensuring a higher level of protection that could be the differentiator for us.
I'm going to ask you about the cloud, but one more thing on Intel. The speculation when that deal came through was that this could be the difference in the mobility space in terms of protecting that area there. Do you see it that way at all?
Well, it's interesting because Intel, I can't speak to it formally, but officially, I should say, but Intel hasn't been a big player in that space. And that's a key component of our strategies on the mobility. We made a very key acquisition in Trust Digital last year, which is providing security on the mobile device, and then integrating that into our ePolicy Orchestrator being our central management console. So you'll see, I will tell you with 100% certainty going into 2011 and 12 that the announcements you'll see from McAfee are going to be on that consumerization space at the endpoint and the mobility associated with that and the plethora of devices associated with that. All our focus is going to be in that space, which is going to give Intel a traditional exposure that they haven't seen as not a large player in that mobility play.
Okay, so besides Intel, McAfee was one of the first security vendors to offer a solution for cloud security in 2010. You put a whole program around that. What's going to be the big challenge as you see it in the cloud for security, and how are you going to address it?
Well, let's see. I mean, tough question, really. And we talked about this last year.
Yeah.
And there was a study that was done. It was in the. There was a study that was done. And the number one inhibitor to rolling out cloud-based applications is actually the security people inside the companies themselves. So the security folks are saying, I'm not feeling totally comfortable with the security associated with the cloud-based applications. So equally, the second biggest concern is the security associated with the cloud-based applications. So we've got kind of a dichotomy where the companies are saying, is it the security folks saying, let's not leave, and then if we do leave, what's the security associated with that profile of applications? So I think there's, the good news is there's a role for us in both places.
Both places, sure.
Right, but I do think that the early adoption on this is going to be things that are essentially non-core, like email and storage of perhaps backup and storage of particular applications and databases. You know, in the short term, do I see an SAP in the cloud after somebody spent $100 million to implement the thing? Yeah, I just don't see that today.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the channel part. You in 2010, you tailored your programs a bit to go after the cloud opportunity. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, it's we've done a couple things. I mean, one of them is, and you will see this year a large announcement around the partner community on cloud. Okay. So stay tuned. We're in the middle of negotiating that right now, and we'll see a very large player in that space in the partner community with McAfee sponsorship around it. Okay. So that's exciting.
Is that a Canadian-specific thing? Or
No, it'll be a Canadian-specific thing around cloud computing. Can't tell you yet, but I'll tell you, it's something that when you see the announcement, you'll be very excited. So a little foreshadowing on that side.
So when should we expect that?
No later than mid-year.
Mid-year, okay.
Okay,
So
you can play this back. You can play this back, right?
I'll probably have you in to explain it all.
So that's one. I think the other kind of difference on the channel side for this year probably would be around. We're doing a lot of work around incumbencies, so how to protect our partners around deal registration and teaming agreements to ensure that they're getting the return that they want. As well as the education side. So around the cloud is that we're kind of announcing a McAfee 101, 201 ACE level of education that says, you know, one is maybe a webcast and 201 is on-site instructor, and the ACE kind of certification is around training, the ability to do proof of concepts, to do demos of our products in customer facilities, to lead security evaluations with our clients, and ultimately to qualify and quantify the business case around cloud computing type apps and solutions. So lots of exciting things happening for sure.
Okay, so we talked about 2010. Let's talk about 2011 a little bit. What do you think are your top priorities for the year and your expectations, not just for McAfee Canada, but for your channel partners as well?
Well, I think it's we talked earlier about taking share. You know, we're taking share in the Canadian market space, so we're going to continue to do that. So it's focusing on our largest customers and our largest competitive customers to see if we can convince them of the merits of a McAfee proactive security approach. That's number one. Number two, on the channel is to get that cloud computing partnership announced, and you'll see that. That's very important to me. The third is we've made substantial inroads in our consumer play in Canada. We've grown that business about 30% this year. We got a similar growth for that for next year.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Ross. All the best for 2011.
Thanks.
And that's it for the Newsmaker series. I'm Paul Donnelly for CDN Computer Dealer News. Thanks for watching.